going to finish topic 1 with restricted domains, number 17 through 19. There's really 4 things you have to know about restricted domains. One is that you cannot divide by 0, and you can see here, when you divide by 0, it's indeed undefined. NG stands for no good. Can't have the square root of a negative, that's imaginary. Square root of 0 is okay, that's 0. Square root of a positive is great, it's real. And you can't have a combination of the two. Can't have a radical in the denominator. If you do, you can't have a 0 or a negative under there. They're both no good. All right. The last thing that wasn't reflective on the sheet, that you should know that you can't take the log of 0 or negative. So whenever you're solving a log equation, plug it back into the original. And if you do it with the calculator will say a non-real answer if it's not in the domain. So number 17, the answer was x is greater than or equal to -5. You can here we have the scenario with the radical, and it can't be the square root of a negative. So anything 0 or bigger is good, so that inequality symbol greater than or equal to reflects that. This is called the radicand. You put that greater than or equal to 0, subtract 5, and these are all the good values. X is less than 0 is undefined, and they could ask that. They could say, what's undefined? And you would say x is less than 0. Or they might say what's in the domain or what's defined, which is this answer here. For number 18, you had a fraction. You had a quadratic on the bottom, which means that 2 means there are 2 values. It's going to cause this to be set equal to 0. So, I mean, some teachers say set this not equal to 0. I say set it equal to 0 and then say it's not in the end. So we set the denominator equal to 0. We factor using difference of two squares. Set each factor equal to 0. And these are the 2 values, -3 and 3, that would cause this fraction to be undefined. If you were to put this into the calculator, into y1, and look at your table, in the y column for 3 and -3, you'd see the word error there because it's not defined. In fact, some students elect to even do it that way, specifically for part 1. I say to be careful. With something like this, it's okay, but if a fraction's involved, you're not going to see it in your table unless you change your table settings. Or if it's an open inequality symbol, you might not see it as well. So be very careful. You're better off doing it algebraically. For number 19, you had a combination. You had a fraction, so you can't divide by 0, and a radical in the denominator, which means you can't have the square root of a negative. So instead of setting this greater than or equal to 0, we just say greater. Do you understand? Because this can't be 0 only because it's on the bottom. So you set the radicand greater, solve, and you get -1. You should also understand what set builder notation is. This is in set builder notation. Set builder, of course, the set means braces. You identify the variable up front. You could either use a vertical line here or a colon, that dot dot, to set up the variable. So that's set builder. The last question, number 20, as I might as well just finish it up now, was a range question. And with the range question, you just had to look at the vertical activity of the graph. The minimum part going up and down was 60, and the maximum high point going up and down was 110. Notice that when we're talking about the range, graphing is always the way to go. Look at the graph. Make sure you use the letter Y, because range means Y. When we're looking at any sets, a lot of us still are having trouble writing these symbols. The smaller number always goes on the left, the larger on the right, and these symbols will always be in the same direction. This way you don't have to think about it. That's the end of topic 1.